What is the true cost of self-doubt and how do you overcome it? Hey, Jay Williams here, and welcome to another Pocket Coaching. I surveyed my email list and I asked them the question, if you could change one thing about your mindset, what would you change? And there are three responses that came back over and over and over again. They were self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and a lack of confidence. And how this showed up for them in business was they were doubting whether they could achieve a certain result. They were doubting whether they could achieve their goals. They were doubting whether they knew what they were doing. They were doubting whether they could influence people, whether they could market themselves. They were doubting whether they could charge high prices. They had imposter syndrome on charging high prices, imposter syndrome on making promises to on their programs to do stuff. They had imposter syndrome about putting themselves out there on video. They had imposter syndrome about so many different things. They had a lack of confidence in making decisions, wanting to get the right decision. They had a lack of confidence in themselves and who they were as a person, in their speaking ability. Now, this might surprise you, but I haven't always been the type of guy that's confident. Who you see today is very different to the man I once was 11 years ago, leaving the Air Force. See, this is a guy that I've built over years and years and years of doing the work that I share with all of you and practicing what I preach. I used to be the type of guy that to the outside, I looked like I had confidence. With my friends, I was always the loudest person in the room. I was the life and soul of the party. But on the inside, the experience is very different. I was very anxious. I'd be worried about, oh my God, I just did that thing, and what are people going to think about me, and oh my God, you're such an idiot. And I'd just constantly be trying to control the situation by being the loudest guy so no one else could really speak. And what I was really seeking is for other people to like me, to approve of me, and to, on some level, just love me. And I was desperate to be the type of guy that people would want to be around. I was desperate to belong. I was desperate to do anything that would get me that validation. I was also the guy that was too scared to pursue my dreams because I struggled with a massive imposter syndrome. I was the guy that wanted to start his own wildlife sanctuary. I was the guy that wanted to be a vet. I was the guy that wanted to be a pilot. I was the guy that wanted to be a superstar DJ. But I was so terrified of failing. I was so terrified that I wouldn't be enough, that all of those dreams that I really wanted to pursue, I never did. And that was something that haunted me throughout my life. Today, as I said, I'm very different, but there's something that I think will help you. While I'm confident in who I am as a person. I know myself. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I know my personality. And so that gives me permission to show up as who I am online. What I'm not confident in is everything I do. I'll say that again. I'm not confident in everything I do. So to the outside, I'm taking action, but I'm not always confident in it. And I think it's important for people to get this, because if you watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, watch any successful person, they'll all talk about how they've all had doubt. And the reason they have doubt is because it's a fundamentally human emotion. And especially if you are someone who's in business, if you're doing anything that's new, if you are growing, if you're challenging yourself, if you're pushing the envelope, what that creates is uncertainty. And doubt is just the absence of certainty. If you were certain, you would have confidence and you would just take action. But if you have self-doubt, there's an absence of certainty. So just know this. If you are doing anything new, if you are growing, if you're bloody alive and you're taking some kind of risk, there's going to be uncertainty, which means there's going to be self-doubt. Self-doubt is perfectly normal. Now, self-doubt only becomes a problem when you can't get yourself to take the action necessary at the speed you want, at the level you want, and that shows up as not being able to realize your potential and achieve the goals that you ultimately want for yourself. And I'll come back to how you deal with that in just a second. Second of all, though, I want to deal with imposter syndrome. So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is the feeling of fearing being found out. In other words, perceived as being some kind of fake or fraud or phony. An example of this might be if you are somebody who's applying for a job and you don't have any of the qualifications necessary, but you've just chanced it and you've lied on your CV and you've got the interview, and now you're sat in front of people, you're going to have massive fear of being found out. You're going to experience the perception that you might get shamed if people find you out. So it's going to create this imposter syndrome. Now, there's only two reasons why imposter syndrome normally persists, and that's because number one, you are lying, you're cheating, you're stealing, you're being dishonest in some way, or you're hiding the truth. And then you live in fear that you're going to get found out. And to give you an example, is when I first got into business, I used to do a lot of video marketing. And what I used to do is I used to actually steal people's quotes or take people's quotes, and I talk about them as if they were mine. So, for example, Les Brown has a quote, which is, "You can't see the picture when you're in the frame." Now, I would never say, "Oh, Les Brown said this thing." I would just talk about it as if I'd said it. You can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And I'd never normally credit them. And then every single live video, what I was terrified of happening was people would go, "Oh, that's a great Les Brown quote." And then I would feel shame as a result of it. And so I'd end up doing a lot of videos and deleting a lot of videos, a lot of pre-recorded videos, because I'd say stuff that was out of alignment with me. And then I would fear being found out. And this is what I experience even through today. I'll experience a fear of being found out when I'm doing things that are out of alignment with who I know I am, because I want to get approval, because I want to be cool, because I want to look good in some way. So the way to overcome that is just stop being dishonest, stop lying, stop stealing, stop cheating. Own your newness. Own that you don't always have the answers. Own that you're freaking human. And this will help alleviate the shame. The second reason imposter syndrome shows up is because you have a perception of yourself that's stopping you from seeing your true gifts, your true value, your skills, your wisdom, your expertise that life has ultimately gave you and brought you to where you are today. Now, how do you overcome that? Well, let me tackle self-doubt and imposter syndrome at the same time, or the second part of imposter syndrome. Every single problem in your life is persistent because you have a perspective that you're holding on to that's causing you to not see the truth or not see reality. So let me unpack that a little bit more. We're all perceiving the world through our own lenses. In other words, many different people see the world in many different ways. And depending on how you perceive yourself or what beliefs you have about yourself are going to determine how you feel about yourself. So, for example, if I believe I'm the type of person that can make 100 grand or 1 million a month, then I'm going to act in alignment with that. And I'm not going to have any doubt. In fact, I'm going to have confidence. If I believe I'm not the type of person that can charge 10 grand for an offer, or I'm not the type of person that can make 100 grand, I'm going to experience some kind of self-doubt or imposter syndrome. And that's going to show up as procrastination, avoid increasing my prices, avoiding offering, avoiding taking action. And so the way to actually overcome it is to shift your perspective. So how do you do that? Well, I used to believe that confidence was only built through taking action. Now, it certainly is built through taking action because it creates a feedback loop. So, for example, if I don't believe that I can hit a golf ball and I go and take an action and I hit a golf ball and the ball goes somewhere, I now believe I can hit a golf ball, which gives me the confidence to have another go. So I'll go and hit another golf ball and another golf ball and another golf ball. And the more I hit golf balls and the better I get at hitting golf balls, what do you think that does to my confidence? It goes up, of course. My belief in myself goes up. So I take bigger action. I take bigger risks because I'm feeling more confident. So we absolutely can create confidence from taking action. But the problem comes when it comes to taking action. That's the biggest problem with most people, because they have self-doubt. And it's easy to say, "Oh, just get on with it. Just take some action. Have some courage." Now, my personal belief is that we don't want to wait for confidence. We need to cultivate courage. The courage to do the things that are uncomfortable, the courage that we don't feel like and want to do, the things that are scary. But you still need confidence in yourself somehow, on some level, to be able to have courage. You need an element of certainty. So how do we get it? Well, one of the ways I've learned to do that, and this is what I share with all my clients in a lot of the tools I use, is to look to your past. Because if you look to the future about the thing you've never done before that's new, then that's going to feel uncertain and you're going to experience self-doubt. So you want to look to the past. So ask yourself the question, And it doesn't even have to be your past. Ask yourself a question such as, who is somebody who had less resource than me, who has been able to achieve the thing that I wanted to? Less resource, less skill, less talent, less personality, less charisma than me, who's been able to achieve the result that I want. Make a list. And you'll start to see that there's people who are worse off than you that have actually achieved the result. So it gives you permission that if they can do it, you can do it. You can then ask yourself the question, in order to achieve this result or this goal that I have for myself, what are some of the traits I need to have elicited or used or have to be able to achieve that result? And make a list of them. And then for each of those traits, ask yourself the question, where in my past, what are some solid examples of where I've demonstrated this trait? And you do this for each of the traits. And what you'll actually find is that you will go and find more evidence to prove to your unconscious mind that you are the type of person already that has the traits and the skills and the ability and the knowledge to be able to create that result. Certainly the resourcefulness to find that knowledge that you need to create that result, if that's the thing that's ultimately missing. And when you give the unconscious mind this evidence, it's going to give you the certainty, which is going to give you the confidence to then take the steps necessary or the actions necessary to create that feedback loop, which is ultimately going to help you build confidence. So to summarize, if you want to overcome imposter syndrome, first of all, stop lying, stop cheating, stop being dishonest, just own who you are, own your newness. And the second thing, if you want to overcome self-doubt, the second part of imposter syndrome, look to your past for evidence of where you are already enough, where you've already proven to yourself that you have everything you need to achieve the thing which you're trying to achieve. And that'll give you the certainty you need to the courage to lean into what you've never done before and ultimately continue to grow and become the type of person you need to be in order to have the things you ultimately want to have. And just remember, if you are growing, it is a perfectly normal emotion. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If this is the first time you've listened to these sessions and you want to find out more about new releases or listen to past episodes, visit jwilliamscoaching.com/pocket, where you'll be able to sign up to get notified. Or if this is the second or 21st time of listening to this show, once again, thanks for your loyalty, thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Take care.